Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. After a long hiatus of a few years, I have with me Dr. 𝙤𝙧 𝙤𝙤. She's an astrologer. She's a PhD in astrology, and she's a prolific writer. She has written about the various itihasas, their dates, and in fact, her first book was on Mahabharata. The second book that she's working on, which is about to hit the store shelves, is on Ramayana. So Ram Setu, now with all these things happening, she's been a frequenter on various channels in television in South India and perhaps even in the mainstream media of the English channels also. Now we are going to today talk about a very interesting topic which I hope will bring together some sort of a congruence of the different dates that people have been mentioning about when Mahabharata happened. So here we go. Let's welcome our guest of the afternoon, Dr. 𝙤𝙧 𝙤𝙤. 𝙤𝙧 ji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar.
So, 𝙤𝙧, I should actually address you, Dr. 𝙤𝙧.
Yeah, sure. Please.
I'm so used to talking to you, 𝙤𝙧. So, Dr. 𝙤𝙧, Dr. 𝙤𝙧, I have your book and I've had a chance to go through the book, Mahabharata 3136 BCE. So when you say Mahabharata, you mean what date? The day the war started? Is that what you define as Mahabharata? Because I want to get some things in place before we dig deeper.
See, both the itihasas, only two are the itihasas we call. That is one, Mahabharata and Ramayana. As far as Mahabharata is concerned, that is the most recent one. And we have the date very closer to that. And that date is the beginning of Kaliyuga. You'll be wondering what this Kaliyuga is about. To explain you what it is about, let me ask you one thing. What is today's day? What is the weekday of today?
Today is, as far as I know, let me get this thing right.
In India,
Tuesday.
Maybe I am talking from India. In India, it is Tuesday.
Yeah, 24th of
Tuesday. How do you? I want only the Vara because we follow the Vara. Vara is a weekday. How do you know that today is Tuesday? Why do you say that today is Tuesday? Can you show me any evidence that today is a Tuesday? Can you show me any literature that says this Varas have started on this particular day and it has been counted like this continuously, so such that today is Tuesday? How do you say that? How do you say that today is Tuesday? I want an answer for this.
Well, this is essentially based on the Gregorian calendar that the British have come up with.
Oh, right? That we brought even before the Gregorian calendar was brought. That we have been using it. I can show you the evidence. Simple evidence in our Tamil Chilapatiharam. It is told over this by Panchanga features. This is one among the 5 angas of the almanac. That is Vara, Tithi, Nakshatra, Yoga, and Karana. These are the 5 angas of Panchanga which are used in India. And I can show you literary evidence for this from 2000 years ago. So this Vara has been there right from the beginning, even before Gregorian calendar was introduced. So we have been continuously using it. It is in continuous usage such that today is Tuesday. And people call it as tradition. Some people call it as tradition. Then they deride tradition. So when you are maintaining a time scale of Vara, for example, in this case, not just Vara is weekday. The very reason or the very fact that you are following that weekday by itself is a proof of the existence of it for all along, all these years. In the same way, what is today? Suppose I have to write, like I showed you, you showed my book. If you have seen my book, in the very first page, I have given the date only in our time scale, like 28th of 𝙒𝙗𝙗, and then Amavasya, Kali 5122. That's how I have given. Because that is how we have been writing our time until 1950. At least until the time of independence. If you look, I have some 2 books with me, very old books. One is written in 1920s and one written in 1950s. Even after independence, the people who have written the books have mentioned the Shakaya, the Kaliyuga, and our month date, like I say 𝙒𝙗𝙗. Vrishchikamasa, like that only people have rated, because that is how we have been following our date. Like how today is Tuesday, we have been having a continuous record of our time period expressed in terms of Kaliyuga. Today we are in the 5124th year of Kaliyuga. You take any almanac from anywhere in India, from Varanasi or from Karnataka or from Tamil Nadu, wherever, from any corner of India, or the almanacs that have been used, if you open them, they will say that today is so many a year of Kaliyuga, and it is the same throughout India. That is, now we have completed 5123 years of Kaliyuga. Now we are on the 5124th year. How this kind of unanimity or this consistency be there? Because everywhere, all the Hindus have followed this system of timekeeping. And this system of timekeeping is found in the inscriptions too. We are, in Tamil only maximum number of inscriptions are there. Even outside in Tamil Nadu, in North India, inscriptions are also there, I tell you. But whenever you are finding out you are trying to give the date of the inscription, you look at the Kali year or the Shaka year based on that. So that shows that you are deciphering it based on the current age of Kali. So this has been there right from for years or for 5123 years that is there. So what is the speciality of that beginning date of Kali Yuga is Krishna left the world on that day. This is not what I am telling. This has been told by all our Puranas. Even in Mahabharata, we have an appendix, like Harivamsha is a kila of that. It's an added one given by Vyasa himself. There also he says, soon after Krishna has left, Raudra Yuga or Maheshwari Yuga had started. And Krishna himself has said, at the moment I am leaving this world, Kali Yuga will start. And then in Bhagavata Purana, Vishnu Purana, Matsya Purana, because you may say, why you take Puranas, all that? We have been told by our ancestors, or it has been told in the scriptures itself, or it has been told in Mahabharata itself by Vyasa, that without knowing your Itihasa or Mahabharata, you cannot decipher anything of the Vedic culture. And without knowing the Puranas, you cannot decipher the Mahabharata or Ramayana. Because Puranas are what had happened in the Puran time, in the olden time. That's the chronology or whatever has been written. That may not be exact, but they are giving all the ideas about it. And when you are coming to exactness, only Itihasas are exact. That they have happened, so to say there. So we have the information that Krishna left. The moment Krishna left, Kali Yuga started. So that is the dividing or the defining timeline. So 35 years before that, that is, we have in 4 places in Mahabharata itself saying on the 36th year, after the Mahabharata War had taken place, the Vrishnis were destroyed and Krishna also left the world. So 36th year means 35-year gap. There is a 35-year gap between the year of Mahabharata war and the day that the year that Krishna had left. So we are adding, when you are going back, we are adding the 35 years with the Kali Yuga date. So I am able to get 3136 BCE as the Gregorian date. I am giving you the Gregorian date. Suppose you want to tell in our Patati, in our system, we used to say 3179 years before the current Shaka of Shalivahana started, Kali Yuga began. That's how we have been using in our texts until this Gregorian or Western model or the independence came up, like a Western model replaced our system, or the after independence, I should say. So this 3179 means from the time of Kali Yuga beginning and the current Shaka of Shalivahana, there is a gap of 3179. In Siddhanta Shiromani, Bhaskara have the second have written that also. And in any astrology text, see, we have many basic astrology texts like guidebooks, which are giving us the formula for calculating the time. Every year, the Panchangas are giving you the Tithi, Nakshatra, everything correctly. How they are able to give? They are all based on certain formulas and formulae. And one of the formulae is concerned with the finding out the year, the current year, based on the Kali Yuga time. So all that they are giving so many days, and then so many nadi, so many vidadi, and so many tatpara are there in 1 year. You add it to the next year, and for the very next year you have to add like this. Rules are there. So these are all the basic subject knowledge. See, you in US, you want to do MS in a university. Do they immediately accept your candidature? They just find out whether you have the knowledge of certain subject matters, certain subjects. Unless you are qualified in certain subjects, you cannot join MS class. So similarly here, the subject matters, the timekeeping. Timekeeping comes only in Panchanga making or in astrology. So without the knowledge of that, you cannot talk about the time of Mahabharata or anything, Kaliyuga, anything. In the very first lesson, if you are going to, in universities, Indian universities are offering, even I studied like that. Even I initially studied the diploma in Majora Kamaraj University, and later in Poti Sri Ramulu University in Hyderabad. There, the very first lesson, when you are starting Siddhanta, that is the literature of astrology, astrological literature, the very first lesson is on time. What is time? How astrology defines time, but that is in concurrence with what Itihasas, Puranas are saying. Not something different, not something what the Gregorian calendar says or a Western astronomy software says. So based on that, what is today's date? Without knowing time, you cannot go further. That is a very basic first lesson. So based on that, when you have that subject knowledge, you know that 35 years before Kaliyuga started, Mahabharata War has occurred. That is how I arrived at 23136 BCE, which is my tradition. We say, I have written the validation of the traditional date. So anyone from my or my previous generation people, they know, yes, Krishna left the time when Kaliyuga started. Mahabharata occurred 35 years before that. That is the basic, just single line. That is enough. From that only you have to derive.
Okay, so I'm going to refer to something that happened in 1801 or 1802, not exact date. And this one is a book that was written by the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam officials at that time. And this was necessitated because for the first time, the British got acquisition of this property. A Nawab son sold it to the British, and the British collector at that point of time, he wanted to know, everybody is going to this temple. They think this is the greatest temple ever. And what is exactly the history of this? What are the things? So he had a series of questions. So somebody tried to put it together in Telugu. It's called Savale Jawab. The reason it is the title is in Hindi is because it was being ruled by Nawab at that point of time. So in that, the lineage of the temple history is given. And in that, they assume that 3102 BCE. This is 1802. So I'm not sure the person who wrote it was very influenced by the Gregorian calendar. I'm just trying to reconcile various points of view, Dr. Jayashree. So this one, 3102 BCE, is when they say that Kaliyuga started. So that means that is the date that Krishna left for heaven. Now, yeah. So then you go back further 36. So that one brings it to 3138. That Mahabharata happened on 3138. Now you're saying here 3136. So would that mean that we are more or less along the same lines? Because there, I'll tell you, I'm going to send a link to that story that I put in PGurus. You can actually follow the lineage. For the first 2,500 years, it was some dynasty of Pandavas that were the Poshakas of the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. In fact, the grandson of Abhimanyu, Janameja, is supposed to have first cleared the path for people to go from the plain, which is Tirupati, to Tirumala. And from there on, story goes on. After that, many kings, Choras, Pandyas, whoever ruled that area, they were the Poshakas for that. And then we come all the way up to now. So my question to you, Dr. Jayashree, is, are we very close now? I mean, can we say that around 3136 is where the Mahabharata should have occurred? Or do you think that there's still maybe... I'm just trying to reconcile these things.
I understand. The most important information from the book that you have quoted is that Janamejaya has laid the path from Tirupati to Tirumala. I want to read that book. That is the most precious or valuable information that we are getting. It's very good. But that is what is already there in tradition, or what have come down in certain books, either orally or by written ways, that author had written. But definitely, no one before him no one before that author, whom you have quoted, that author of the book, no one before him would have quoted 3102 BC. You agree with that? Because that is a different letters that was given to us by the Westerners when they came to India. And then 3102, if I am right, it should have been 17th or 18th February. That is the date that was given. It was given by 𝙤𝙀𝑠. There is one scholar called 𝙤𝙀𝑠, 𝙤𝙀𝑠. I think that is the way it should be. That name should be pronounced. That 𝙤𝙀𝑠 had given that based on the knowledge of that time among the astronomers of Western world. That knowledge is about the Julian day. Initially, they were following Julian day. There is a Julian day. Its length, the Julian day starts from a tropical year and then it has a certain length of time. So based on that only, they calculated and they said based on whatever the years, that is 3179 years before Shaka era. Shalivahana Shaka started on 78 CE, common era of 78. It started. That is very well known. So many inscriptions are there. So 3179 years before that, when they are calculating in the Julian year, they have a 0 year in between common era and before common era. That is between CE and BCE, there is a 0 year. So they are adding that 0 year and then it just goes on like that up to 3102. That is one thing. And also in Julian days. Whereas for us, there is no 0 year question at all. We have a continuous background. Like you can say 3179 years means just add 3179 years. When they say there is a 0 year, we have Raudra year. A year by name Raudra was running for us. So what happens, this 3102 was given by 𝙤𝙀𝑠 and many Western astronomers based on the Julian day. So now I am going to tell you in what way Julian day is different from the day that we are following. We don't follow Julian day. We follow a sidereal day. For us, the sun's entry into a star, that is Ashwini, when it enters Ashwini, then goes round the zodiac and then comes back to Ashwini, that is one sidereal year. That is 365 days and then 31 Nadi and then 15 Vinadi and then 15 Tatpara, like that. Every year they calculate. And the one that I have told you was written in one of the Tamil Vakya Panchanga guidelines, written 150 years ago. So periodically they were writing and every year they were measuring. There will be a slight difference in Vinadi or Tatpara. Tatpara is a very smallest unit of time. And then Nadi is 24 minutes is one Nadi. Then 60 parts of it is Vinadi, 60 parts of it is Tatpara. That is how it goes. So every year they calculated this minute difference and then they have done like that. So our sidereal day, starting from sun's movement from Ashwini to Ashwini, is slightly longer than Julian day. Such that every 115 to 116 years, there is an addition of one sidereal day, or in other words, you can say a Julian day lags behind by 1 day. Every 115 to 116 days. Just imagine, for this kind of 5,123 years of Kaliyuga time, how many days would have to be deducted to get the sidereal day? Nearly 40 days. That's a difference will be there. So basically there is a difference in the Julian day duration and sidereal day duration. Without taking that into account, 𝙤𝙀𝑠 have done that. And when he has given that, the author of the book that you are quoting must have been very elated, thinking that that is how scientifically the date is given, and then he has adopted it without knowing the intricacies. Not only him, there are other Indian astronomers at the time of Nehru, when Nehru constituted an almanac committee to have a basic, that is a common almanac for all of us, all the Hindus, all of them followed this only. That is why in our Indian, that is all the governmental, what shall I say, write-ups or in the communications, even in PM's communication, you can see Shaka year will be only from there it will start. And they will be giving the tropical date from the Western tropical. The year begins from Western tropical, whereas we don't start the year in Western tropical. We start from Chaitra Vaishakha, somewhere. Yugadi starts in Pisces And then solar year starts from only the Aries, that is Mesha. But there may be a slight regional variation in following the lunar or solar calendar, but everything around the Ashwini, 0 degree Ashwini only. So that is the beginning of the year. But in the communication, what I have seen, that is the government is following the tropical year, which is Julian. So at the time of 1950s, people, even Indians, were not aware of which is ours. That is where I am saying the subject matter is very important before going into these things. Our subject matter says that we have to start from the sidereal position of the sun, but they followed that. So based on that, Srinivasa Raghavan, you might have heard about him. Mr. Srinivasa Raghavan also had calculated the number of Kali years, and then he calculated on the basis of Julian days. And then based on that, as I said, 34 and then 100 and the 3102, then add the 35 years or 30, then it goes to some Kota Venkatachalam. He got it like that 3138 because of that only. Because they have blindly believed that whatever Burgess has given is a true one, without knowing the difference in Julian and. Because when you are going through, we find all that. Please don't mistake me for
no, not at all. I have a question. See, when the British arrived in India, they thought they were the keepers of time, that they knew everything to know about time. But for their surprise, they saw that India already had a very evolved calendar. They used to call it the Kali Panchang. And they couldn't understand how these guys were saying everything. The basis was that. I mean, one of the things that got broken down and cast away was that. Even though, if you remember, when the Western astronomers were calculating, I think sometime in the 18th century, they realized that their calculations were off. I think for the leap year, I think 14 days are not there in a calendar. 14 days are cast away. You had the 17th of a month, and the next day was the 31st of that month.
Yes,
this happened in 18th century. This is recorded fact.
They lost it. That is how there will be discrepancy. I have mentioned all that in my book also. That discrepancy is arrived. And for the book that you have mentioning, they have given the Julian year. So actual year is minus one year. So it should have been 18th February 3102 in Julian calendar. You convert it into Gregorian calendar. That is the date I have given, 23rd January 3101. There is a conversion between the Julian and the current Gregorian, isn't it? Since we follow Gregorian now for our all practical purposes, I have given the date in Gregorian date. And that is January 23rd, 3101 is the date of Kaliyuga. The equivalent is 17th or 18th February 3101 only. But what the book that you have quoted and what Burgess and what Srinivasa Raghavan, everybody had taken is the Julian date where 1 year is added. That is the problem. I have explained all that in the book.
Now I'm going to ask you something a little bit perhaps out of the syllabus, but I'm sure you know the answer to this. So this is what happened. Now, of the Pandavas, Nakula was an expert at training horses, I'm told. And Sahadeva was a very expert astrologer. Now you know what I'm going to talk about. So, the battle lines are drawn. When to start the war is being decided. Duryodhana knows that Sahadeva is an expert astrologer. So, he goes to Sahadeva and says, Sahadeva, tell me the day that I should start the war so I will win. And Sahadeva then puts on his astrologer's cap and he comes up with a date saying that you start the war on Amavasya and you will win. Now, having said that, Duryodhana is very happy. He goes back and says, we are starting on Amavasya. Now, then Krishna comes to know that this is what Sahadeva said. And he called Sahadeva. I said, why did you give him this date? He said, look, I am doing my dharma, which is of an astrologer. He asked me a date. I gave the date. Krishna puts his thinking cap on. What do I do now? If the war starts on that day, then the Pandavas are going to lose. What do I do now? And then he looks up and thinks, well, there are not many days left. So again, Krishna is Krishna. That's why we call him God. He goes to a banks of a river and starts doing Amavasya Tarpana. That day was not Amavasya. He starts doing Amavasya Tarpana. And both Surya and Chandra are confused. Why is Krishna doing Amavasya Tarpanam today? Today is not Amavasya. So both of them come and ask him, what are you doing? Stop. What are you doing? Then Krishna just smiled and stops. Why are you doing Tarpana today? Today is not Amavasya. Then he says, when does Amavasya happen? When Surya and Chandra come together. So both of you are here. So today is Amavasya. Immediately Duryodhana says, war bugle, let's start the war. And he ends up losing. Tell me, what is the truth about this?
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this. But I should tell you, this story, is it there in the Mahabharata?
I have no idea. That's why I'm asking
It's
you.
not
I'm the
there in
ignorant one here.
Mahabharata, but it is there as oral tradition, as an orally transmitted story among Tamil people, Tamil speaking people. You go outside Tamil Nadu, no one knows this story.
Now the whole world knows it. It's on
No one knows
PGurus.
this story. In Tamil, there is a film called Karna, where Shivaji Ganeshan, actor Shivaji Ganeshan did Karna's role. There, this situation is coming. This is orally transferred story among the Tamil-speaking lands, among the Tamil-speaking people, I should say. This itself shows that the war, that is whether the Amavasya war started when, we don't know. Usually, that's a different thing. Amavasya did not start on the designated day as told by Sahadeva. It started earlier than normal. That is the point. And that is being told in Mahabharata openly at 2 times. See, usually people used to say, whenever they talk about Rama 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪 𝙤𝙧𝙤𝙪. Rama never says anything twice. Just one time he says, that's all. That should be taken as gospel truth if you will do it. Whereas in Mahabharata, Vyasa says everything twice. And this one, that is the Amavasya happening earlier than normal. It had happened on 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪 Tithi. 𝙒𝙧𝙤 is the 13th Tithi. Then 14th Tithi should come. And mostly sometimes from the 14th Tithi onwards, Amavasya may begin. And by 15th Tithi, it will get over. Or by beginning of 16th Tithi, it will get over. But it can never start at 13th Tithi. But it had started on 13th Tithi, and Vyasa was really astonished, shocked. I have never seen, I have never heard that Amavasya can happen on a 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪 Tithi, but it happened. That's what he says. Once again, at the end, that is when Vrishnis were getting destroyed, when they were self-destroying each other, Krishna, he also felt that at that time also there was a change in that particular phase. At that time, Krishna recalls the 13th Tithi Amavasya that happened before Mahabharata War. So twice he has mentioned that. But nobody who has worked on Mahabharata had taken into consideration. And the story that we have told is there is an oral tradition in Tamil lands. So we are able to connect it. Okay, it's true that Amavasya had happened earlier than normal. That is immortalized into memory as Bodhayana Amavasya. Bodhayana Amavasya started only after Mahabharata times. By Bodhayana Amavasya, suppose the Amavasya starts on the evening of the 14th Tithi and it ends before the night of 15th Tithi. That day is Bodhayana Amavasya. Why the night is important means in night the moon is going to be there, but moon is not there anyway. So the conjunction order, that is the Amavasya, should be there at night also for the normal Amavasya. For Bodhayana Amavasya, it will get over before sunset the next day. It will be there during sunset the previous day. So you can't have it on the 13th day. It will never repeat in history unless there is something abnormal that shows some abnormality or some kind of calamity had happened. And that calamity I have deciphered in my book as an extraterrestrial object hitting the earth. Because of that, yes, that is a very basic major turning point in that. And I have written a paper on that. It was approved, and then I have, even today I got a mail from a researcher in Malta who has bought my book. See, he's a foreigner who has bought my book in Kindle, and he is engaged with me in a discussion about this, how the climate would have changed or something. And even the German climatologist, Mr. Seifert, is working on that. He's going to bring out something called Hastinapura effect, because in the year 3136 BCE, a comet had hit the Earth, and then that is imprinted, that has got its imprint in the climate. That is, there is a sudden drop in the temperature. They were able to see there are totally 4 such that is extraterrestrial falls within a period of some 200 to 300 years, which they call as Pyro oscillation. This Pyro oscillation changed the entire climate of the Earth at that time. For example, your that is Egyptian Sahara was not a desert until then. It became a desert only after that. A biblical flood had taken place only because of the comet fall, that one of the pieces had fallen into Persian Gulf. So the water just gushed into the Euphrates and Tigris, and then that is Noah's Ark that was just pushed further away. I have written all that in my book. So what I'm coming to say is, of the 4 events that has caused the pyro oscillation, 3136 event is there in the climate map. GISP2 map, that is there. Something has happened on 3136, but the scientists are not able to locate where that impact had happened. That is where your Mahabharata comes. Mahabharata comes as the earliest record, a written record. That shows that a comet had fallen on the earth, and that is I should say the first eyewitness record given by Vyasa, and all numerous nimittas, more than 100 nimittas, even including the Arundhati Vasishta, the changing of the position. It is just minute that I have explained how it would happen, and the similar ones had happened some 500 years or 600 years also. And there are 3 times in this 5,000 years time, 3 times our even so North Pole had shifted. It did not shifted, but we shifted. We started seeing it from a different angle, and then we have just slightly come back to normal. That is how there are scientific evidences for all that. So the turning point of the entire story of Mahabharata is the extraterrestrial object hitting the earth. Because of that, the alignment between, I should say, the Z axis alignment between the sun and the earth and the moon, slightly they just waved a little. According to that scientist, it could have been for a few hours or a few days only, not for many days or something. Then we have come back to the normal. That is there because based on the other, there are so many scientific issues that they are looking into that. So for this kind of issue, how long it would have lasted, that is how they calculate. So based on that, that is his idea. And then for 3136 BCE, Mahabharata event exactly fits in. And he has, that Mr. Seifert has named it as Hastinapura event. And he is going to write it. He said he has a list of totally 17 such cometary falls in the Holocene, that is for the past 10,000 years. And this is one among them, and he is going to bring it out. I think once that comes out, this issues about that is this confusion about Mahabharata will be scientifically solved. Now, what I have done is, as per our tradition and as per our resources, as per what we follow. When I say tradition, please don't deride it or don't reject it. If you are rejecting it, it is like rejecting today is Tuesday. So
well,
this one is there.
We just want to present different views. And I have one last question before we wrap up this. Time has just flown, Dr. Jayashree. You mentioned in page 181, okay. Adhika Masa. Adhika means extra or more month. Now, there's also something that you mentioned called Kshaya Masa. Can you enlighten our viewers what these Adhika Masa and Kshaya Masa are?
Yeah, basically, this cannot be found out from any astronomy simulator. That people should know. This is not a Western concept. This is not. This cannot be found out in any simulator. This is from the observer on the Earth. What I am seeing, how I am seeing the sun and how I am seeing the moon going across a sidereal zodiac. Ours is sidereal zodiac. Please remember that. The zodiac is divided into 12 parts, divided by 27. That is occupied by 27 stars. That is how. So here we have this lunar month and then solar month. Solar month starts from the time the sun enters into a zodiacal sign. Aries, Mesha, that is Mesha, Rishabha, like that. Lunar month starts just after the Amavasya. That is why always people used to make this confusion also, whether it's Amanta or Purnimanta. It is Amanta only because after conjunction, only when you have conjunction, you have an Yuga starting. Yuga means a conjunction. So sun and the moon have joined together on Amavasya. The very next day is waxing Pratipat, the first the phase of the moon. From that time onwards, the lunar month starts. Now, when in a lunar month, there should have been at least one Surya sankramana. Sankramana means entry of the sun into the next sign. That is, the solar month should start within a lunar month. A lunar month starts on the first day of Pratipat after Amavasya and then ends with the next Amavasya. So within this period, there should be at least one Surya sankramana. Suppose there are 2 Surya sankramanas, then that is a Kshaya Masa, as far as this lunar month is concerned. Suppose within a solar month, there are 2 lunar months, that is, there are 2 Amavasyas within a solar month. That is, so sun enters Aries, Mesha, then comes an Amavasya. Before sun leaves Aries, there is another Amavasya, means 2 lunar months have started. So extra month has started. So that is Adhika Masa. Within a solar month, 2 Amavasyas come or 2 lunar months are starting. That means there is an Adhika Masa, and the first one is rejected and the second one only is taken up. This is the Adhika Masa. Once in 2.5 years it happens. You may ask why this should happen. Every day, like the sun's movement across the sky, it takes 1 year, I tell you. Whereas in 1 month, the moon finishes the round. The entire zodiacal. In 1 month, the moon is going an extra day compared to solar day. That is, the sun is finishing.
More than that, right? Moon comes 28 days. You have months are 30, 31.
Compared to solar day. Suppose you take 30 days for sun. Okay. 30 days, the sun crosses one sign. The moon crosses that sign in 29 days itself. Mm-hmm. So there is one
always in a hurry. Moon is always in a hurry.
That is the 30 degree span of a month. A month is 30 degree span. A month is crossed by the sun in 30 days, whereas the moon crosses it into 29 days. So in 1 month, there is an extra solar day. In 2 months, there are 2 extra solar days. In 12 months, there are extra 12 days. The moon is gaining. Moon has already gained. So in 2.5 years, and in 24, that is 2 years, 24 days. Then in another 6 months, it is gaining another 6 days, so 30 days. So that's in 2.5 years. In 2.5 years, the moon is gaining 30 extra lunar days. That is how the Adhika Masa comes. So we are actually not calculating. When you are practically doing it, we don't calculate. You take an almanac, you just look at it. When you are seeing that within the period of the solar month, there is just one so lunar month is starting, then that is normal. Suppose 2 lunar months are starting, that gain starts happening there. So in that case, the first Amavasya, then followed by that month is rejected, is just set aside. Then the second, that is known as Adhika Masa. Only the second is taken as Nija Masa. This is the case of Adhika Masa. In the case of Kshaya Masa that you have quoted from my book 181, page number 181, another phenomena also happens. Within a lunar month, 2 times the sun would have shifted. Suns, that means the lunar month is of 29 days. The 30 degree duration is crossed by the moon in 29 days. Correct? But within that, twice the sun is moving from one sign to another instead of going in 30 days. So that happens in 149 years. This happens only when the earth is going very fast at perihelion. This perihelion happens when the earth is crossing the Dhanu Rashi and then Makara Rashi, and it starts from Kartika itself in Vrishchika, Dhanush and Makara, and even sometimes up to Aquarius. In these 4 months, we are crossing very fast. The earth is moving very fast because it is in perihelion. Because of the faster movement of the earth, it seems that sun is moving faster. So within the lunar month, the sun moves very faster from one sign to the other twice. That happens in 149, once in 149 years. The last time it happened was in 1983. And this kind of faster movement had happened during Mahabharata time also. But I tell you, but that actually I should say that it should not have happened. But what had happened, Adhika Masa had happened, and that's a very another topic. Maybe we will reserve it for another time. But yes, I have explained it in my book because Bhishma, the main question I have raised in my book is this: Bhishma knows about time. He can calculate time because based on his advice only, the Kauravas could be convinced that the Pandavas did complete the entire duration of exile. They didn't expose themselves before time. They were convinced because of Bhishma only. So Bhishma is such an adept in calculation of time. And when he decided to lay down his life in the battlefield, thinking that Uttarayana is going to come and he is going to ascend the heavens because dying in Uttarayana is good. But what has happened, only when he is falling, he is saying that sun is not there where it ought to be. Then he realized, oh, it is going to be extra time. Why it is going to be extra time? For 50, 80 days, he has to, it covers one extra month also. See, Duryodhana falls on an Amavasya. That means the next day is another lunar month. So until that lunar month, that is Magha month, that should have been Adhika Masa. Then comes the real Rija Masa. In that, the Ashtami Tithi has gone. The problem is this has happened in this corner of perihelion. Somewhere from, see, people say the Mahabharata War had happened anytime from Kartika to Magha, anywhere within this time. So this is a perihelion time. In perihelion time, there can be Shaya Masa and not Adhika Masa. It can never happen in nature. But here he had to wait for an extra month. So how could it happen? It happened because of the extraterrestrial impact that had dragged the sun and the moon. That is, they are aligned. Actually, they are not separated from each other. They have an equilibrium between them, and then some kind of, they call it a Z category. That is ABC axis, Z axis. Their Z axis got disturbed. Because of that, instead of reaching that place of Uttarayana on the designated time, it had taken a longer route. It is like you are going in a plane, straight away you can take a path. Suppose you are taking a circumstitious path, then it takes a longer time. So it has taken a longer time to reach that. The point is, at that position, at that period of time of the months, Adhika Masa can never happen in nature, but Adhika Masa had happened in nature means something had gone wrong drastically bad. That is the Ratha Saptami day. The Ratha Saptami day is still remembered today because something abnormal, it could never happen in nature, had happened on that day, making Ratha Saptami as the Uttarayana day. Normally it should not have been the Uttarayana day. It seems because it had happened, they had frozen it into memory as Ratha Saptami. So there are many such kind of secrets there, which I have brought out in the book. And thank you for bringing out to the public.
Yes. Thank you so much. And viewers, buy this book. It's 400 pages. It's absolutely riveting. That's all I can tell you. I'm
giving a discount also. It has given us 475 rupees on that. And now I'm giving for 450 or even 425 rupees. I'm giving a rebate. Please.
Where can one get the book, Jayashree? Dr. Jayashree, you can give me the address from where they can order the book. And I'll
they
put
can
that
just,
in the description.
Okay, no, they can just send a mail to jayshreebooks.gmail.com. JAYASREE books, BOOKS, Jayashree books at gmail.com. I let them just drop a letter. Yeah, I handle all my mails. I do personally. It's my full. It's my own effort, and I am interacting with my readers, buyers. I'll do it. No problem.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jayashree. And viewers, please do go to her website, do buy this book. We have to know and take control of our history. Nobody else should be telling us where, what happened, and that these are all, there's so much information here that we have shared in today's talk. This alone should prove all the doubters that, listen, this is Itihasa. It happened. Thank you very much, Dr. Jayashree. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you.